agenda, and there's some copies in the back. If you did not get one when you come in, I'm sure we would be glad to pass you one there. Also, I'd like to welcome Jennifer Baldwin with us this morning. She's the town's new finance director or finance officer, and we're certainly happy to have you with us, Jennifer. For those of you that have not had a chance to meet Jennifer, please take time to do that. We hate to see Randy retire, but we're glad to have Jennifer on board. So, welcome. Okay, now at this time, if we will stand and pledge allegiance. Council, will you be a good picture? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Eternal Father, we thank you so much for your blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Father, we thank you for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon this town in the past. Father, we thank you for everything that you do for each individual person in this town. Father, may what we do is pleasing in thy sight. And Father, may it be for the betterment of this community. For Christ we pray.
Amen. Okay, all of you have had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting, or any corrections or changes to the minutes that we need to take care of. If not, we will have a motion to approve them. So, approve. All those approved, please say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, tonight we're going to have a public hearing on the CDBG grant application, and it's to upgrade the water treatment plants that we need to. And I'll call on Anne-Marie if she will to brief us on the public hearing.
Okay, I will. I'll start off with giving you a briefing about the upgrades for the water treatment plant, a little bit about the grant application, and then I'm going to introduce Linwood Stroud with Stroud Engineering, and also David Tupin with Stroud Engineering. And they're the engineering firm that is helping us with the grant application. And I'll tell you up front that the CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, is a federal grant that is passed down to the state and then to local governments. And the requirements are extremely rigid, and a lot of things have to be done to the letter of the law. And so tonight, there actually will be almost like a script of information that has to be shared with everyone and has to be read into the record. So it hopefully will be informative, but a lot of it is technical and required. So please bear with us on that point. But tonight, the council will conduct a public hearing to hear comments from the public on proposed applications for funding for the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality's CDBG Infrastructure Grant Program. And as the council knows, we have been working on these grant applications for several months, and our application proposes to fund improvements to the town's 2 water treatment plants. And the improvements would be classified in 2 categories. One category of improvements is proposed to address the town's total trihalomethane problem. As our water customers know and the council knows, that we are currently in violation. Our water exceeds the maximum level of contaminants allowed by the federal Clean Water Drinking Act. And we have been studying various ways to come back into compliance. And thanks to the help of Stroud Engineering, we have identified a new process that will remove the precursors, that will remove or prevent the chemical reaction that comes from the way we currently treat our water that creates the trihalomethane. So we're really excited. We've been briefing the council on the pilot studies, and we know that this technology works. It has been proven to be successful in Dare County and in other counties in eastern North Carolina. So the grant proposes to pay for upgrades that will be needed to institute or to start that new process. And Mr. Stroud will talk about the upgrades, the specific parts of the upgrades that are proposed in the grant. And the council remembers that back in September of 2005, we reviewed the results of a water supply, long-range water supply planning study that was performed by the Edenton company, and that evaluated a series of alternatives for long-term supply issues for the town. And the option that we're presenting tonight is a hybrid of one of the recommendations that the Edenton company put forth. They did not have the technology or the information about how to reduce the trimethylamethanes in their options. So we're combining the TTHM components with the upgrades recommended in the water supply planning study. The grant application that we're applying for is the grant is very competitive. The grants are due the end of September. There are several categories of funding that we will be applying for. There's a pot of money available thanks to the proceeds from the bond referendum that passed last November. But unfortunately, those projects are geared for, or the criteria is geared for, communities that have high water bills. And our water rates are not high enough to qualify for that money, likely not to qualify for that money. CDBG is an option, but the CDBG requirement is that the community has to be more than 51% moderate or below moderate income. And according to the U.S. Census, the last data that the census, that the state will allow us to use, not the data that was released today, we have to use 2014 data. Edenton's medium and low mod rate is 49.8%. So in order to qualify, in order to be able to even submit this application, we are doing what's called our own on-the-ground survey, and it is allowed. It's highly technical, it's highly regulated, thanks to David for figuring out how to come up with a random sample that has 97% confidence that we're going to get the return rates that we do. I thought we were going to have to hire a statistician from East Carolina, but David figured it out. And we have identified 500 specific customers at residential addresses that we have to survey. And we have to, in order to qualify, we're going to have at least 51% of approximately that number have incomes of below, at moderate or below moderate income. And so we have, I told the council, we have contract workers, our wonderful friends that help us during disasters, doing debris management monitoring, and going door to door. And we're getting overall good participation from our customers. And we urge anyone whose door we knock on to please participate in the survey, because we really need those surveys completed and returned. And if we don't qualify for CDBG, if we don't exceed that 51% threshold, there are other funding options through the state. There's the state traditional loan fund, and then there's also USDA grant and loan fund, although we're not assured that USDA that we would qualify for grant funding because of our rates in a statistical comparison to what our low and moderate income household is. We're just not poor enough to qualify for grant funding from USDA. We may qualify for very low interest rates for USDA. So with all that being said, Mr. Stroud will now come to the podium, and he's going to briefly talk about the technical aspects of the upgrades. And then after Linwood, David will come and talk about the grant requirements that need to be on the record for tonight. And then, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, you can open up the floor for public comment. And I will say that tonight, no action is taken. The council is supposed to reflect upon any comments that they receive from the public, and hopefully people who watch the video or read about it in the paper will comment to you. And then we'll have on the agenda September 26th, I believe, the fourth Monday, the resolution for you to consider if you decide to formally submit the applications.
Thank you, Ms. Knighton. Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and discuss the water treatment project with you. In thinking about this project, I think it's important to remember that your water treatment facilities were constructed in the 40s and the 50s, so they're 50 to 60 years old. They've served you very well. At the time the plant was built, no one knew what a TTHM was. There was no MCL for TTHMs. The process that's in place over there now basically consists at both water treatment plants a softener, obviously to remove hardness from the water, and disinfection, and that's it. That process does nothing to reduce TTHMs. TTHMs form in the system a chemical reaction between the chlorine disinfection process and certain chemicals that are in the water, primarily organic chemicals. So what we need to do, several ways that can be treated, and we have come up with what we feel the best scenario for the town of Edenton based on the chemistry of the water. And as Ms. Knighton said, we conducted pilot study to verify the process will work. So it basically consists of an ion exchange process that will remove the precursors for formation of TTHMs, which are primarily total organic carbons and bromides. This process takes those out, so it prevents the chemical reaction from taking place that forms the TTHMs. And the pilot study proved that it's effective. Of course, the other issue is at the water treatment plants is the age of your existing facilities there. They have outlived their useful life, and they're there at the end of their useful life. So the pressure vessels that contains the softener resin are corroded, and basically they need to be replaced. So the project that we have proposed replaces the existing softeners, the associated piping and valves, and also adds a new process to remove the TTHM precursors. We anticipate that probably you will not have quite enough space because you'll have more equipment there. Will require some modification to the building itself, possibly some expansion, in order to accommodate the new vessels that are associated with this process. So we've estimated the cost based on this scenario to be $2 million for the Freemason water treatment plant, $1,658,700 for the Beaver Hill water treatment plant. And as Ms. Knighton said, we have looked into various possible funding sources for these, the first of which is the CBDG grant, which would be a 100% grant. That would be our first preference. The problem is to score high enough, first of all, to qualify to get above 51% low to medium income, and secondly, to score high enough so that the project would be funded even if we qualify, because every cycle, normally the state has 2 cycles for CBDG funding for infrastructure. This year there's only one, but it's basically $26 million per year. Heretofore it's been $13 million in the spring, $13 million in the fall, but this year all of it comes in the fall, $26 million, but they'll receive probably, 100 applications. And typically what you see funded is 5 or 6 projects across the whole state, because all other municipalities have needs similar to yours are competing for the same money. And whoever scores the highest is going to win. And a lot of this score is beyond our control, beyond your control. Those 25 points of the total score is based on low to medium income. To score the full 25, you have to be above like 90%. 51% gets you 5 points out of 25, 5 only. So what we've seen on previous cycles is the successful projects have had higher than 70% low to medium income. Excuse me. Maybe I will have some of this water. So it's important that we get as many responses as we can to this survey that's going on. And we feel that if we get good response, that the number is going to significantly improve from 51%. But Anne Marie's doing a great job trying to get these responses and get it documented as to what it is, so in order to give us the maximum possible chance. The other, of course, you know, everybody's probably heard about the Connect NC bond money. A portion of that has been allocated to drinking water projects, and the criteria for that is very specific, and basically you can qualify for anywhere from 0% grant up to 100% grant, and the largest contributing factor to the qualification is the monthly water bill as compared to the state benchmark. The town of Edenton has relatively low water bills compared to the rest of the state. So basically the water bill itself is not high enough to get you into the grant category. It would have to be somewhere up around $40 a month to get you a 25% grant, and then it goes up from there. About $60 gets you a 100% grant. But we're nowhere close to being able to qualify for grant funds. Could still qualify for a loan from that same pot of money, but it would be 100% loan. The other possibility is this state revolving fund for drinking water projects, and that is a loan as well, be a 100% loan. Now, every cycle there's 2 or 3 projects that will qualify for 50% principal forgiveness, but that's probably not going to happen either. So its possibilities of being funded for a loan are very high. Possibilities of a grant at this point are not too good, honestly. But, you know, hopefully Ms. Knighton can work her magic and get that number up there to where we can at least compete for a CBDG grant. And as she said, you know, we can always go back to USDA for well, let me back up a little bit. The loans that you would get from the state are a 20-year term. And I don't remember tonight what the interest rates are, but they're pretty low. The USDA grant loan, there's a slim possibility for a little bit of grant from USDA, but based on the water bill, again, it's pretty slim. And she said it's based on a statistical average of the water bill compared to the median income level. But probability very high that you could get a loan, and it would be a 40-year term as compared to a 20-year term. There's no penalty for early payoff if finances improve to the point that you could pay it off early, so it would reduce your yearly obligation in the initial years of the finance. The interest rate right now on the USDA money is that they have 3 interest rates, but according to my conversation with USDA today, in Edenton situation, you would be at about 1.375%. Yeah, 1.375%, which is the poverty rate for USDA loan. That's what they base it off of. So does anyone have any questions up to this point? I know this is a lot to digest.
The biggest thing to digest is the cost.
Yes, sir. And, you know, we're talking about over $3.7 million, and I believe Ms. Knighton, if I remember correctly, really the other technology that would basically solve your TTHM problems would be the reverse osmosis or nanofiltration, and the cost estimate I think that Wooten did was like almost twice that amount for that technology. But this is the best available technology and the most economical to provide you a permanent solution to the problem. Before we get into David's presentation, have we actually opened this for public hearing? We'll have to do that before he speaks.
After David.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for letting me be here. Believe it or not, he had the more interesting topics to talk about. I have to basically read off a script here. This is going to be some of the requirements that the federal government requires in order to be eligible to submit a package. If this is not in there, it's completely kicked out of the option. So the public hearing today, September 13th, will provide an explanation and description of the 2016 North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality Community Development Block Grant Infrastructure Grant. We present to discuss the purpose of the public hearing for the town of Edenton CDBG funding application. The purpose of the public hearing is to obtain citizens' views and to allow response from the public to funding proposals and answer any questions posed by the citizens. This hearing will cover the town's community development needs, development of the proposed activities, and a review of the program's compliance before the submission of the town's CDBG funding application to the state of North Carolina. The town proposes to request funding for NCDEQ's CDBG infrastructure program for 2 projects. 1, the Freemason water treatment plant upgrades, and 2, the Beaver Hill water treatment plant upgrades. The purpose of the CDBG infrastructure grant program is to improve the quality of life for low to moderate income people by providing a safe, clean environment and clean drinking water through water and sewer infrastructure improvements and extension of services. To benefit a residential area where at least 51% of the beneficiaries are low to moderate income as defined by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. To perform eligible activities to minimize displacement and provide displacement assistance as necessary. For the 2016 fiscal year of the CDBG infrastructure funding available is expected to be $26 million. The maximum obtained grant is $2 million over a 3-year period for a town. Applications for funding will be received September 30th of this year. The CDBG program is available to fund a wide variety of community development activities. The state of North Carolina has chosen to fund 2 activities, water and sewer infrastructure and economic development projects that lead to job creation and retention. The infrastructure program, or CDBG infrastructure program, can fund a range of water and sewer infrastructure activities, including but not limited to the following: water, projects that resolve water loss in distribution systems, projects that extend public water to areas with contaminated wells, projects that extend water lines to areas with dry wells, projects that assist with low water pressure in public water systems, projects that regionalize 2 or more water systems, projects that rehabilitate or replace a water treatment plant. Wastewater, projects that resolve inflow and infiltration to collection systems and surcharges from pump stations and manholes. Projects that extend public sewer to areas with failed septic tanks. Projects that rehabilitate a wastewater treatment plant to allow for greater efficiency compliance with regulations. The town is seeking an amount in CDBG infrastructure funds not to exceed $2 million for the Freemason water treatment plant upgrades and $1.6 $7 million for the Beaver Hill water treatment plant upgrades. The purpose of the town is to replace the existing softeners, high service pumps, piping and associated equipment in the Freemason plant, and add an ion exchange process allowing the softener designed to remove disinfection byproduct precursors. The second project, which is the Beaver Hill, is to replace the existing softeners, high service pumps, piping and associated equipment in the Beaver Hill plant, and to add an ion exchange process following the softeners designed to remove disinfection byproduct precursors. The project proposed by the town of Edenton is identified in draft 2016 capital improvement plan. Informal community meetings will be held in the project area to inform citizens of the potential project and get feedback from the residents. A total of 100% of the CDBG infrastructure funding will be used to benefit low to moderate income people. The project area in the town of Edenton has been determined to have a low to medium LMI based off of random income surveys of greater than or equal to 51%. The project area includes the total area within the town limits of Edenton. The project's locations will be the existing water treatment plant located on West Freemason Street and Beaver Hill Cemetery. The range of activities covered by the CDBG infrastructure funds for the Freemason water treatment plant upgrades and Beaver Hill water treatment plant upgrades includes construction, environmental review, engineering design, construction administration, observation, legal activities, surveying, grant administration. If the town is awarded a CDBG infrastructure grant, the town is required to adhere to federal procurement requirements and other federal regulations, which include the American and Disability Act, Section 504 survey, Davis-Bacon and related labor acts, adoption and submittal of a citizens participation plan, adoption and submittal of an equal opportunity plan, adoption, submittal of a fair housing plan, adoption, submittal of a language access plan, adoption, submittal of a relocation assistance plan, adoption, submittal of a Section 3 plan, and excess forest provision. The state of North Carolina requires that if the town of Edenton receives a CDBG grant, funding that the town will certify that they will comply with the requirements of the general displacement and relocation policy for CDBG grant funding. This policy assists low to moderate income people with costs associated with relocation or displacement. Should relocation become necessary due to the project activities, CDBG funds can be used for those costs if necessary. This project, or neither one of the projects will have a displacement. No displacement is expected to occur as a result. In the past, the town has applied for and received for the following completed CDBG projects. I'm going to have Anne Marie take that one for me because there's a little list there.
Over the years, the town has applied for and received numerous CDBG grants. We have received and successfully administered, I would gather to say, at least a half dozen housing rehabilitation CDBG grants over the years. In terms of infrastructure, in the early 90s, we received a CDBG grant that extended sewer from town all the way out to the airport industrial park. Remember the old Baywire building? And that's how all of the industrial park receives town sewer, thanks to that CDBG grant. And most recently, we're in the final stages of administering a CDBG grant. The town was awarded to upgrade the water line on Peanut Drive for the Jimbo Jumbo's peanut plant expansion. And we also recently received a CDBG grant from the North Carolina Department of Commerce Main Street program to help pay for the renovation of the Hotel Hinton, contingent, of course, upon the developer securing all the financing required for that project. So So I think it's fair to say that the town has quite a bit of experience administering these challenging grants.
I'm almost done. The town will submit its CDBG infrastructure application for the Freemason Water Treatment Plant upgrades and the Beaver Hill Water Treatment Plant upgrades on September 30th. The CDBG infrastructure application will be available for review during normal business hours at 400 South Broad Street, Edenton, North Carolina. Additional information is available from Anne Marie Knighton, the town manager. Should you have any complaints or grievances regarding the public speaking hearing, they should be addressed to the addressee mentioned above within 10 business days, and a written response to the written complaint and or grievances will be sent to the town within 10 business days where applicable. We open the floor for comment and questions about the CDBG program and about the proposed project, excuse me.
Anyone have any questions or comments to David?
I mean, this might be stretching this a long way to get some extra points. But is there anywhere or any way that we can use these TTHMs as, I won't say a deterrent, but like a problem that maybe the hospital would have, that, not saying that they would close down, but, you know, or another business
Right.
in town.
Or dialysis place or something of that nature.
I'm just trying to think of, you know, is that a long stretch?
Well, the issue that we have with that is we're set with a grading system. They give us a scorecard, and we can only score based off of what they're looking for that particular cycle. So in this particular cycle, there's no place in there stating that it would affect, if it would have any points for affecting.
And one other thing I would say about that, and that's a good point, David is right. You have to go by the score sheet, and it's the exact number of points. Either you get the points or you don't. But for everywhere on the score sheet that we claim points, we write a narrative to justify those points. And we can certainly include that in the narrative to make sure we get them. We've got a just the fact, though, that we're under administrative order, we're probably going to get those points anyway, but we will certainly include that in the narrative.
Then also a lot of the areas in that application, you're maxed out on how many points you can get in a particular area. So they really tie your hands on exactly what you can get. They really look for very poor areas to try to fund. And that's just the way a lot of the funding cycles go.
Well, I believe that. I know. A lot of grants now.
Anybody else? Any questions, comments today? Okay. David, thank you very much for your...
Thank you, Mayor, council members.
Okay, at this time we'll open up for public comment and we'll have the public hearing. So we'll ask if you have any comments that you want to make. Please go to the podium, state your name and where you live, and we'll listen to your comments. And please try to control them to 3 minutes. Hearing none, we'll close public comment. And now we'll move into our committee reports.
Welcome to stay with me. Yes.
Okay, at this time we'll move into our committee reports, and the first one is Public Works Committee. And since I'm sitting in this seat, I will ask Councilman Dixon if he will to take over the Public Works Committee. Yes. And before you do that, let me say we've got Honorable Terry Bowles here today. He changed his agenda so that he could be here tonight in case we have any questions about this grant, or that we and especially Dr. Hugh Williams Monument. Thank you for adjusting your schedule and being here with us.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Okay. So,
And I'm glad to see you brought your tea with you. I would never leave them. So we have 4 things on the agenda tonight, and it's my understanding that the community is minded went through the Preservation Commission with no hitches at all and approved. So it's recommended that the council approve the plan to utilize funding grant from the NC Economic Development Downtown Revitalization Grant for the Hugh Williamson Monument as presented. And this is the end of a 15-year odyssey. So thank y'all all for all your hard work. I'll put that in the form of a motion. So
Second.
okay, you all heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
And second, would y'all like to spin?
Jenny, is this a personal thing for you?
Thank y'all, thank y'all. Oh, wonderful. It's so exciting.
So the second thing we have on is recommended that the council endorse the Edenton Public Art Initiative and Community Public Art Plan as presented. And I'd just like to say, I think it's great that people here representing all the hard work that's been done by a lot of people in town, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Now, second.
Okay, you've heard the motion in the second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
So the third thing we have on is recommended that the council approve the plan to utilize funds from the North Carolina Economic Development Downtown Revitalization Grant for destination downtown Edenton's public art plan as presented. And sort of fold into, and we just voted on, but I'm excited about this, and I'll put this in the form of a motion.
Okay, motion been made in second for item number 3. All those in favor of the motion,
Excuse me, just for clarification, was there a dollar amount, what, like 15,000 or something? Is that right? Yeah, can we include that in the motion? So that will,
I'll make the motion, we can include the 15,000.
thank you.
okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
And then going from the exciting to the not so exciting, the Public Works Committee will recommend that the council approve the purchase of a solid waste transfer trailer as presented. And I'll put that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion in the second. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Discussion, please.
Okay.
Just want to make sure we're doing this for him, we just put in for committee report. We're looking at a quote that ranges from $65,595 to $78,000. And we had, in this motion or even in our discussion, we have to decide which one we want to buy. I'm assuming the $65,000.
Yes.
That's what she was recommending. That's recommended to approve purchase of the
Okay, I
trailer.
just want to make sure it's in there.
$65,595. Any other discussion or questions?
It's a lot more fun to spend on art.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
That's all we have.
Okay, the next is the Utilities Commission, and that's chaired by Councilman Quinn.
Thank you. We have only one item, and it's a recommendation that council adopt the updates to customer service policy that we have presented at our last meeting. Yes, put that in form.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, you've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. The next is the Finance Committee, and we will call on Councilman Dixon again.
Okay, We have one thing on for this evening, and it's recommended that the council approve the interlocal agreement with Chowan County for the purpose of updating our joint town-county land use plan. And we discussed this at our meeting, employee meeting, and I'll put it in formal motion.
Second. Okay, any discussion?
Just to say this is a deal for us, since we only have to pay $800, I just don't view. It's a $16,000 deal, and we're paying $800.
All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
That's all from finance committee.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the next is new business, and I'll ask Anne Marie to, if she will, to take charge of that.
Okay, we have 2 items for you to consider under new business. The first one is budget amendments, and Jennifer Baldwin prepared budget amendments for you to consider. One is in the amount of $2,000, that would be revenue to be received from the grant you recently received to help restore the wetlands, the constructed wetlands on North Granville Street. And you see the revenue on the revenue side of $2,000 coming in, and then on the expense side, materials and a cash payment will be made to the RC&D Council because they'll be doing a lot of the work with assistance from Public Works. The second budget amendment is for the solid waste transfer trailer. And we propose to appropriate $67,595, which is $2,000 more than what the trailer cost. We have an existing truck that will be used to carry the trailer back and forth. We thought we might need to put some new tires on that truck. Excuse me. And then also tax and tags and licensing. So it will not exceed the $67,595. If the council has any questions, otherwise we would ask that you adopt the budget amendments as presented.
So,
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the budget amendments as characterized. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
The last item under new business is the bid award for the CDBG upgrading of the electric distribution lines on Peanut Drive. The bids were properly procured with assistance from the Luton Company, who is helping us administer the grant, and also with assistance, of course, from Glenn Anderson and Bud Powell, our purchasing agent. We received 3 bids, and a review of the bid tabs found that the second low apparent bidder actually made an error in their bid tab. So the bids were not as tightly bid as we originally reported to you. But in reviewing the bid tabs and reviewing all the bond information and all of the required paperwork that the contractor had to submit as part of the CDBG process, we recommend that you award this bid to Coastal Power and Electric in the amount of $162,705.48. And this total amount is funded by the CDBG grant. Glenn had come up with an estimate when we submitted our grant application of $165,000. So we're right in there, and thank you, Glenn, for that good work. But we're asking that you approve this tonight so that we can go ahead and schedule pre-construction meetings and get this project rolling so we can get the work done and close out the grant.
Can you give me that figure?
Yes, $162,705.48. You've heard this item before. Do we have any discussion on that, or do we have a motion to go forward with it?
I just want to thank Glenn. You do a great job, and I mean, the fact that you can come that close, I mean, you kept our electric system going. We're mighty lucky to have it. So,
I'll put that in form of motion.
I have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carried. And that ends our committee reports for tonight. And the next item is items considered timely and important. Does any of you up here have anything that you have a burning desire to discuss with the council?
I've got a question. There's a question that's asked me every day that someone sends me in the street or in the store. What is the status of us trying to get another grocery store?
The Northeast, the Edenton Showing Partnership, our new executive director, is working extremely hard, and I am helping where I can, trying to attract the attention of a grocer, a second grocer. He's working with economic developers with electricities who recently attended a national commercial retail shopping center conference, and they've made some contacts with some people that were interested in learning about our market. We've been sharing with those people copies of the market analysis that the partnership and electricities did to prove that a second grocer can come into this market and be very competitive and make money. It's a slow process. We've reached out to at least 6 or 7 different grocers, and we're continuing to work with them to try to get their attention. What we hear back from the developers that represent these grocers is they're interested in our market, but it's going to be on their timetable. They set their schedule, their plans for new stores are generally, 2 or 3 years out. So we're working hard. Councilman Dixon had an idea today that we're going to follow up on, trying to identify a second generation store location. We talked about that. The old food line is not available because Food Line is not going to let their competition in. But are there other locations where a second generation store like a Piggly Wiggly or a Carly Z's would be interested in going? And then what they call the first generation stores, that's going to be a new ground up store, and that's going to be most likely a national grocer. So we've been talking to neighborhood Walmart, we've been talking to Lidl, talked to Farm Fresh, although they say they're not interested in serving our market right now. Talked to Lowe's Food. I don't have all my notes with me, but those are the lists that Publix is another big one. They are interested, and you can see from news reports how they are breaking into North Carolina and moving north. So the indications that we have from them is they like our market, but it's going to happen on their time.
Okay, thank you.
It is an important issue, and believe me, the partnership and several others are working constantly on this and trying to, as everybody stated, he's doing a lot of research beyond on it and trying to bring it forward. A lot of research being done. Apparently, it must be a lot more expensive to go in and rewire a store, a new location, rather than coming in behind like going back into the Food Line store, where everything is already wired up for the boxes and this type of thing. Apparently, it's a lot more expensive to go in and wire.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of issues with, how codes and technology and energy efficiency.
But I'd have to say, if that was open, the old Food Line store, we would have a store.
Absolutely.
So next time you build something, I hope we figure out some covenants to put on it so this doesn't happen again, because they're turning that thing into a place of truckers. So I know we've been working on that, but I mean, it's awful. And, I think there are covenants and legislation that we can build in front end.
We can.
That
You're
people
exactly
just
right.
can't leave these things, I mean, they're just collecting rent, but it looks terrible.
Yeah. Anyone else?
if everything.
And we update us, if you would, on, you mentioned a while ago, Hotel Edenton, update us on that and the office space above the town hall.
Sure. Hotel Edenton got an update just a few days ago. They are hopeful, optimistic that a term sheet from a bank that they've been working with to do the financing that they need is going to be presented to them any day now. So we're hoping that's going to happen. We've met with that banker. We've met with the representative from that bank. He's been here. He asked for follow-up information, which our tourism director, Nancy Nichols, provided to him. So we're just hoping and praying that financing is going to come through. Our economic developer with the Edenton Show and Partnership met with the representative from the hotel project on Friday and offered some leads on some other banks that have done new market tax credits in the Virginia area. And so SAGA is going to go ahead and start pursuing that also. The company above, that's supposed to move above Town Hall, SMA, is supposed to actually have a conference call with them tomorrow. They have advised me that they have reorganized their board. They're supposed to have their first board meeting sometime in October. And I've asked for them to lay out a schedule of what their plans are to honor their obligations here. And I will be inviting them to send a group to Edenton to review the space. But tomorrow, hopefully, we'll get an update on what a realistic timetable is for them to make.
And we did get the extension from
I have not
Commerce.
submitted that yet, Councilman. I need to get information from SMA tomorrow on their time, what the timetable is, and then request. That would be an extension for the building review grant, but the governor's 1NC fund and Golden League, they have until like 2019.
Anyone else? Okay, but at this time we're opening it up for public comment. If any of you have anything you have a burning desire to talk to us about, please come to the podium and state your name. Okay, seeing none, we'll close further comment. And at this time, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So, second.
You all agree?